but it means nothing if the team can't get the result. Here we go, though. We're loading into the map now. Starting things out, as you know, and know by now, with our operator bans, and then we'll see how 9Z's fare on their defense. Because, Tim, they could take a good few rounds off Liquid if Liquid aren't careful here in this first half.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen Liquid play with nerves over the years, and it's never ended too well, has it? You know, realistically, those big games are the ones where they have fallen down. So now is the time to start showing that this new lineup is one that is capable of overcoming those demons. Not on the same scale yet, not on the same stage yet, but it is even still a very much must-win game. Full 3 points needed against 9Z. Don't get me wrong. I think Liquid probably do it. I think they have been, in terms of this game, I think they've had a good couple of results over the last 2 play days. They've been beating teams that they, you know, quote-unquote, should beat, and this is another one of them. So, yeah, Liquid, come in. They need another 7-2, 7-3, confident win. Take those points and then sit back. It's like I said in the last game. All you can do is get your result. Then they need to sit back and watch Furia beat Loud. That's, you know, if that doesn't happen, then they need to start really praying for tomorrow to go their way. But all they can do is get their win.
10 seconds to insertion.
Sure, it's that kind of thing where all you can do now is get the win. Of course, there'll be questions around previous games they could have had the win in, but this is how things stand. This is how it is going into our penultimate play day. A reminder again that we've got one more play day to go, and you mentioned the teams earlier, the teams play. Liquid have got a hard ass against Loud to come into. The job should have been done a long time ago, is all I'll say to this one. Start things out, though. Quite a cheeky little bout count coming out from Nazar here as well. Losing it just underneath and trying to get himself a cheeky little, I'd say a bit of a late spawn peak coming out at the same time that Zhao goes for a run out, but instead it's been 9Z coming away the losers off the back of that one. A down player that's certainly recoverable, but that was not what they intended.
Big loss with the Vigil gone. You know that you want in that Vigil to waste time. And in the first 30 seconds, gone. Doesn't get a kill either. Maya manages to find Will on an attempted run out. Looks like 9Z have come out of the traps, much like I said in the last game, have lost. They don't have much to play for, so let's just go at them. Let's just try a few things. Let's get out of some doors and windows. Well, this is what ENX should have been doing to Loss. Team Liquid have punished them. 5 versus 3. Maya's taken some damage. It doesn't really matter too much. The Vigil's gone, and they can just start focusing towards sight.
I really don't blame them for this style of play as well. It works against a team that's a good start, to be fair. I mean, I should have known that was coming. But again, I don't blame them for this style of play, because I think when you come up against a team that you perceive as not being like super impressive on the attack of a given map, this disruptive style of play early on is perfect. It can win you rounds inside the first 10, 15, 20 seconds. Anything that's a little bit cheeky to shut down Liquid is a good idea. But the thing is, Liquid look ready. They aren't being shaken by what 9Z have thrown at them at the start of this round. Yes, they've lost Ass now, but they've got 2 kills. They have the composure, the knowledge, the discipline to slow things down at this point and win out a 4v3 very comfortably with the 2+ minutes they still had available at the start of this passage of play.
Beautiful from Diaz. Again, Tuco just giving himself away a little bit easily there. You can't be dying in bar back storage from the skylight. It's one of those no-go areas. You know that they're going to have a line of sight down there. But have Liquid picked up on the man hiding behind Cigar? Counter. Again, I would say it's a little unforgivable if they haven't. Nazar manages to walk around, get one. They didn't know he was there, but it's okay. Good reaction from Maya, gets the trade. That's what you're looking for. 3v1. Liquid win this with trades. Simple as that. Nitro, gonna take a lot, not a lot of damage, gonna take some damage. Gonna take a lot more as Ness manages to find him from Piano. And that's gonna be a good first attack from Liquid. Solid stuff.
It's exactly that. Like, I feel there that 9Z have really thrown the kitchen sink at them in round 1. You know, 3 very attempted earlier plays. The Valkyrie, the Vigil, the C4 up on towards the Sledge. Only one of those worked out, and they lost 2 players in the process. Liquid, I think, have made a big statement in round 1 that we are composed coming into this. We know what the game plan is. We're not getting caught up by any stupid little spawn peaks or attempts like that to really cheese us out of a round too early on. They look good from that first round. I think it's a really, really promising sign. Of course, there's a whole half still to play here, and 9Z will change up their playstyle, no doubt, as well. You won't see them doing the same things in this half, so Liquid's now got to face a new challenge. We'll really see how composed they are now coming up against a more standard round of Siege.
Yeah, attacking onto the basement this time. We'll call it the basement. It's really the ground floor, I guess. Attacking onto the ground floor. It's going to be Kitchen. Got Maestro to deal with. I'd like to see maybe that Brava brought along. It's not something that has been banned out, but I think given that the Maestro was led prone for the majority of that, they were trying to keep him off the drones, which I'm guessing they've maybe been successful with, because we're not going to have the Brava pick coming along. We do have Nesk on the Twitch, so that may be used. And the reason that I sort of edge towards Brava, so I think Brava's a great operator at the minute, and if you're not playing a lot of Brava in ranked, you probably should be. Absolutely fantastic at the minute, and I think taking those Maestro cams rather than destroying them, I get that there's the Goyo canisters there, so the Twitch kind of ticks both boxes, but it can just be such a big thing to grab a hold of early in the round and get that intel out of what's going on site. But it's not a criticism. Liquid do still have the tools that they need. They've got the sledge, the ram for the verticality, they've got the sense for the execute, they've got the flanks covered off with Maya on the gridlock, they've got Nest to deal with that utility inside a site. So it's all looking good in terms of the setup.
What I did find interesting is the bans out of Liquid as well. We didn't really have a chance to talk too much about those. 9Zs, double shield ban, no surprise at all. On the other side, it's that double architecture operator or architect operator that we've spoken about a few times in the Azami and the castle being taken away. Castle I can understand, it can be really frustrating. The Azami, of course, you understand is one of the most popular bans in the game, but as a pairing, you take away a lot of the kind of mini games that you have to play when trying to navigate through a site or through the map that these teams might have set up. They're almost trying to kind of make this a very direct, straightforward engagement with 9Z, where it is basically guns up, and that is why it's going to limit things a little bit for 9Z on being able to lock things down and make life hard for Liquid when kind of like in the more PvE sense, coming up against the architecture of the map. Instead, they're saying it's more about the gunfights you want to get involved in, engaging the operators and players on the other side. I think it's just really cool to see.
It is. They try run out again. Nesk is there and ready. Just going to send a message. Takes down the smoke. Big loss there. A lot of plant denial has just gone. They don't really have any other plant denial. I guess the Maestro cams maybe, but it's a tough one. You've got to be on it straight away when they start putting that diffuser down if you want to stop them being able to successfully plant. Liquid were good in terms of time. They've been swinging this hammer around for 20-30 seconds on the mid floor, so they're getting all those verticals, forcing those defenders out of sight. This now is all about just creating that space. Going to take down one of the Maestro bubbles with a nade. Nicely done. And now they can start thinking about how and where that diffuser goes down, but you better believe it's going to be behind those screens coming in from the sense.
We've really got to ask what the hell Joe is trying to do there. Like, he's been holding on White Corridor for the longest time. After 60 seconds, decided that he's so bored that he's then stepped off, had a little peek at the door, stepped his way up White Stairs, come charging back down to challenge on towards Nest. It almost feels like he didn't just that. He got impatient and wanted to go for a gunfight, and they've lost all 3 smokes in the process. Not quite sure what the thinking is. However, Liquid have now put themselves in a spot where they've got 20 seconds to play, but there is no smoke to stop them on the drop through. Joe might genuinely single-handedly cost them around here.
I love that use. I was going to say, I wonder if they'll use the Sense gadget to just screen off VIP so that the Warden can't do anything. That's exactly what they've done, and it's great. But Liquid, 5 seconds left to go, not in a position to put the diffuser down. Maya grabs it and will start. Nesk with an essential kill on the cover, takes down the Warden. The plant will be successful, and that's where that loss comes in. But kills have all gone to 9Z. Can Nesk hold on to this? If anyone can, surely it's him.
They're going to have this held off, and sure enough, there we go. It was a good hold and response from 9Z, but truthfully, Tim, never should have been in the spot where that diffuser was going down. Again, not sure what Joe was up to. Far too aggressive. His job was to hold that shield that the Warden was sat on and get smokes down into that default drop. They could have ended the round from that spot, and it's a good thing they got that flurry of 3 kills they did, because otherwise they'll be kicking themselves there at why on earth he's let that round slip away from them. Close to going to Liquid, but I'll give it to the rest of 9Z. Well played there to ensure that they won that post pump very comfortably.
Yeah, Liquid just left things a little bit late, it felt. It was a minute 40 when they had control of mid-floor and started clearing out the floor with the hammer, getting the verticals in there. And it took them a minute 20 from there to then be in a position to put the diffuser down. I love the way they dealt with VIP. For again, one you can take away for at home. It can be a difficult position to clear. We see teams using nades and, you know, getting in there trying to challenge and losing bodies doing so. It was great. Just get the screen across there, pop it up, bang, it It gives you the cover that you need. The Warden can't see through the screen, so it means that you can, you know, do what you need to do, force him to play through that. Nest holds it. Great stuff. But yeah, just lost too many bodies inside, because I think they were rushing. Ultimately, the planter got dropped. It meant they had to reposition, pick the diffuser up, and they just hadn't really left themselves enough time, Liquid. So, yep, Nancy get away with one there. It's going to be 1-1, and we head into round 3.
All right, onwards we march. We've had both teams show a little bit of what they can do, I feel, at parts. We've seen that early aggression from 9Z, maybe ill-placed aggression at times as well, but also the ability to play around the objective and wait for Liquid to be the one to put themselves in harm's way. Liquid to also have a good composed round, and then one where they're taking a little bit too much time. So you're still seeing the... personality is the wrong word to use, but you're waiting to see here more about what's developing for both sides and where the weaknesses and where the strengths currently lie. At that 1-1 point piece, just in a couple more rounds, I think to get a feel for how the round's going to play out from here. I'm looking at the comp coming out from Liquid, and this is the main suggester for me. They really want to try and temper the aggression coming out from 9Z. Having both a Nomad and a Gridlock on side screams towards that 100%, but they're also making sure they've got the right tools to be able to run down anyone who is trying to play aggressive. So looking more towards the Dockerby and the Blitz on that front. Those two as a pairing, I think, will be really good at pushing players back, and then it's unlocking things down with the Nomad and with the Gridlock, and unfortunately we have got the drone bug coming in here, and no matter where you switch to, we're going to find ourselves with this blurred up screen until you find your way out of it, and sure enough, there we go. The observers are so pro at getting out of that, by the way.
They really are.
It's brilliant.
Just going to be holding down that flank on red. Joe does manage to make up a little bit for the last round, maybe. Taking down Ask. That's going to be the Blitz gone. Big loss for Liquid. They do manage to find one of their own onto Nitro, leaving them now in a 4 versus 3 as again. Tuku's trying to get out of it. Oh, 9Z, you got to learn to play inside the map. Force Liquid to do something here. 3 runouts and 3 deaths they have taken. Now, Liquid 4 versus 2, and this should be a round that they're able to control from here.
I'm really not sure how Tuku got himself so stuck there. Was it a jump out attempt to try and get a kill and then paid for it with his life shortly after? It might have been. I'll double back and check on that in just a moment, because it's a very, very bizarre situation in which he's gone down.
It seemed more like he was teasing reading door, like he was trying to stand right on the threshold and see if the opportunity was there, but they just knew he was there. I think it was pre-run out that he kind of got caught out, but yeah, not good, not good.
I think he might have crouched out underneath the barricade, smashed out the lower parts, crouched out underneath it, and then couldn't get back in and was stuck outside. Very weird. Either way, Liquid in this 3 versus 1 now. Yes, a kill comes back for Will, but for Liquid, it's going to be a comfortable closeout here, as yet again, they deal with that aggression from 9Z extremely well.
Yeah, much better from Liquid that round. I think, you know, everything went in their favour. They got the couple of kills that they needed to when 9Z tried to be aggressive, particularly on that run out again. 9Z, it's not worked 3 times now. I think, you know, a lesson should be learnt at this point. Stop getting yourself out of the map. We're going to have bans coming in, given that we're heading into round 4. We'll see. I think maybe one of the flank watch could be taken away here. Get rid of the Gridlock or something if you're 9Z. But no, instead they're going to go for Capitao, which is an interesting one. I just want to have a look, but I'm not sure that we've actually seen a Capitao played yet. Certainly haven't seen too much impact from one. No. Okay. You've done a full rotation of defensive sites. Liquid haven't brought Capitao once. You go for the ban on the Capitao. It seems like a strange one to me.
I really thought we'd see another shield ban coming out, like a Blitz, for example, or at a push go towards something like the Sens or towards a Dockerby. Sens obviously been brought along 2 of those 3 rounds. Didn't get to really see it in the first round, but it was brought along. And in the 3rd round, the Blitz was... you make comments about the Blitz as much as you want, but as we know, very, very potent. Even like a Dockerby being alongside it would be a good thing, like I said. So I'm a little bit surprised by the ban, same as you, Tim, but knowing probably what they've seen in scrims or whatever else has come along, that Liquid have got Capitao strats in their back pocket, just don't want to deal with it and taking it away.
I mean, Capitao's super strong. You know, it's never a bad ban, realistically. No. You know, Capitao's super strong, so never a bad thing, but I just... Yeah, I just don't really see the logic. It's less of a lean
towards what they've seen so far and what they're expecting.
It seems to be more of like a pre-planned. We already know what the band's going to be ahead of the game. We know what our bands are going to be, and just sort of stick into that course rather than reactive to what they've actually been seeing. Like I say, I think I'd have thought maybe taking away the Nomad or Gridlock. We've got both of them played here.
To be fair,
if 9Z want to keep playing aggressive, you know, I think give yourself an opportunity to be aggressive then. You know.
Across the stage so far, Capitao is Nesk's most played operator, so you can understand it from that perspective.
Yeah. Not today, though. Not today.
Not today.
Here we go then. We're in round 4, 40 seconds into the round. Liquid yet to get themselves inside of the building. Everybody is still outside. They're going to be droning, going to be finding exactly what is going on with these defenders. No rush from Liquid. I like that. They've been pretty steady, pretty calm so far. Happy to let the round progress and find the kills as they come. I'm also glad that 9Z haven't run out of a door or window yet. So still 5 left alive. I think they might have learnt their lesson. And Liquid are going to have to brute force their way into the building this time.
Well, again, it comes back to the utility,
well,
right? The castle being banned away. The castle being taken away, the Azami being taken away. It just leads to need to try and force aggression. I do like here how they tried to change it up a little bit more, making use of the soft denial, so leaning into walls like Melusi, for example, the laser gates, the mute jammers, the anti-utility of the Wamai, plus, of course, the mirror. They are still trying to sit down and play behind that, but as you rightly pointed out, Tim, doesn't mean they're not going to get aggressive at some point. And to be fair to Najri, he's got out there, got the Nomad, and managed to get himself back in. Good stuff.
I mean, you know what I say, Des? 4 times a charm. 4 times a charm. It's paid off. They've managed to get one. Resets will find Nitro. Nest gone to Joe, though. 4 versus 3. And again, Team Liquid are able to swing things in their favour. I see the nade going in just to clear out a bit of utility, more than likely. And 9Z have got their battle line drawn now. They're just going to hold their positions and hope that Liquid push on in and give them some opportunities. Look at this, though. They've got themselves on to Heaven Balk there. If they're not aware of Diaz in this location, he could be very, very dangerous if they start moving now that Maya's put in that diffuser down. That's exactly what happens. Diaz manages to find one successful plant. We do see resets down, but it's likely to be too little, too late. Will just trying to duck and dive, do what he can. 1v3 effectively, 1v2 with the gridlock down, but Liquid, they know what they're doing here. 20 seconds left to go, and they're just going to hold those angles and wait for Will to have to make a move, which is coming right now. Finds Diaz, 1v1, surely not, surely they don't give it away. Yes, they do. Will with a huge 4K to close out the round.
Why? Just why would you give him the opportunity, boys? Oh, I mean, fair play to him entirely. He stepped out there into aggressive positions, gone looking for the kills, hasn't waited to step into a crossfire. He's tried to isolate as many fights as he can. But you hear this so often, like, I want to say it was Mint was speaking about this on his co-stream a couple of weeks ago. He was just like, I never understand people who play TCSG. Like, why won't you play where you can, the Vector? And you've just seen why. That rate of fire is absolutely ludicrous. When players are already low after getting picked back up, for example, or just for finding headshots, you can absolutely fry, and that's exactly what he stepped out and done. Liquid, I was about to get ready to praise Liquid and say, you know what, Execute has been absolutely brilliant. They've got control of what they need to here. They've dealt with the early aggression from 9Z inside a piano. They've got a plant down while there's a lot of cover and utility going on through. This is no problem. One of my big concerns, and it's not like it was like a world-ending thing, Diaz on the Deimos still had 3 tracks left in back pocket. All 3 were still there. Why were they not being used during that Execute? It gives you that ability to know if someone is moving to challenge onto you. It gives you a free kill. Just one of those that I look at and think, surely in this situation, you think about making use of those crucial elements of utility that have otherwise been forgotten about. Maybe it was fear from the mute jammers. I don't know. But there's no excuse why when you're in that 3 versus 1, there isn't a trap being brought out.
100% agree. 100%. You know, we've said this about a 1vx where there's a Deimos on the other side. It shouldn't be winnable, realistically, if the Deimos has tracks. You know, you should not only be 1vx, they should know exactly where you are as well. And to be honest with you, Des, I think they did know exactly where he was. They must have, as soon as he kills Diaz, they must know where he is. When he's 1v2, steps out, Will, you know, gotta tip my hat off to Will. Fantastic stuff from him.
Beautiful
Steps
clutch.
out, gets the double spray down. Just played it to perfection. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Made a move when he had to. You know, got the kills he could from his position without taking too much risk. And then when he knew he had to challenge, he had to move, did so, and did fantastically well. Liquid, in a game where they desperately need 3 points, could well be looking back at that moment, and they could well be kicking themselves.
Yeah, knowing they could be up 3-1 on the Attacker Cafe, absolutely going to be kicking yourself. It's not the end of the world. They've still got 2 more chances here to get this right. And honestly, like I was saying at the end of that round, I was about ready to praise them for their execute, their setup for it, dealing with the aggression. They know what they're doing, and they're looking pretty good when they're getting it right. They just can't be letting someone win out of 3 versus 1 like that. Onwards we step, though. Now I've got the SALs coming out with that first Finca Juice call pull-in. Still got both phone calls available on the Dockerby. The second one is about to become available. First one's now coming out, and this is where the move forward might start. So that first pull of the Juice was to get ready. Now it's about starting to line up for an execute.
Still 5 versus 5. NZ going to be hoping that they can get themselves that entry halfway through the round. It would certainly start to change the plans of Liquid a little bit, who, as you say, so far doing well at getting that clearance. Nesk is going to work across the top floor on the Finca. The drones have gone through, so he should be fairly confident that his path ahead is clear, and he can start working towards mid-floor control, get that sledge in. Start doing a little bit of work above as well. Tuku does manage to find Maya with the Nitro though, and I tell you what, Des, it's starting to feel like I've seen this before when it comes to Team Liquid.
I mean, I thought this back on our basement site before, that Liquid were quite slow and took quite a bit of time to get a lot done when they weren't only trying to hit the top floor. It's a similar story here, and to give 9Z credit, they've stepped back as they've kind of conceded ground and tossed C4s. They've been willing to challenge like you're seeing now. They could have lost Joe there as well. And what I'll say is, although they've lost a couple of players at the early round, like they've done here several times over, it isn't taking away from their willingness to go for these fights, because they come out on top, they win the round outright. It's just that Liquid have been so good at dealing with the aggression, it's made 9Z look a little bit silly. However, they've got the right idea in mind. Now it's 3 versus 3. Last phone call coming out from Diaz. Liquid need to go now.
Yeah, they really do. 15 seconds left to go. I said it on the basement attack as well. It was only 20 seconds when they were trying to plant. They've been leaving it a little bit too late in rounds, and it has to go right first time. 9Z in a position where they can hold on. They can just wait for the planter to come in, and it's an easy kill, 2v2. And now Liquid have to make a move and can't, as Nazza manages to find a double Nitro with a pre-place of all things. Absolutely beautiful stuff. 9Z, they take an unexpected lead against Team Liquid.
Ain't that a way to say we know everything you're going to do before you do it? The pre-place in the perfect spot to get a 2K to close. Wonderful stuff. And although that was a pre-place, again, I'll come back to what I said in the middle of that round. What's changed about 9Z going into that 5th round was, although we saw a bit of aggression inside of Reading, being willing to challenge up onto that top floor, they're holding ground, forcing Liquid to drone and clear up utility, and then being willing to challenge from below, whether it's with C4s or with guns, it doesn't matter. They've always got the next hurdle that Liquid need to kind of find before they trip over it whilst trying to wander their way through the map. So it's been really, really smart by 9Z in that last round. I love the way that they've played it. Liquid have really played more of the same, this methodical clear. It shows good adaptation on 9Z's side, and although, yes, they aren't playing for much in this game, knowing that you're that team that could knock Liquid out and stop them making it into playoffs would be a pretty good accolade to still take forward.
I love the teamwork about that pre-place. So the pre-place is there to deny a plant. They're thinking that there's a good chance there's going to be a plant spot around bomb chassis. Stick it there. If we get to that point, we can just detonate. Great stuff. But what I love about it is that they didn't do it when the plant was first going down, because they knew that they had a man in there. So, no, I can get the kill on to Ask, and then they know with 2 seconds left to go, there's not even really any communication needed at that point, because as soon as they call diffusers down on bomb chassis, no problem. I've got my pre-place. There's 2 seconds left to go. I'll give it half a second and bang, because Liquid have no choice but to go in and try and grab that diffuser. Brilliant stuff from 9Z. Absolutely love that.
All right, well, Liquid now maybe staring down the barrel of a couple of rounds here. They'll be kicking themselves and saying we really should have done better there and been far in the lead, so far out that it feels like a far gone conclusion that you're going to be able to win this game and take those 3 points, whereas now they've really been pulled back into a scrap, and I'm dead curious to see what 9Z bring out on the attacking side of Cafe, because that could really set fireworks flying. But now we've got to see Liquid get through this one. They've dropped away from that Nomad, and instead of bringing along tools, bringing along the Striker, an operator we spoke about quite a lot for a number of teams, especially in this region, Tim. I asked a few that played an awful lot, why do you run it so often? Furia being one of them. And then we're speaking about the versatility that is offered by bringing along so much utility. Maybe a little bit of a nod in towards the Wamai that was brought earlier on by having the flashbangs in back pocket. Otherwise, throughout this entire half, Liquid have really enjoyed bringing on a lot of nades. 8 in this round they're playing around with, so really trying to bring the boom to 9Z.
Team Liquid really need this round. A 3-3 half is not too bad for them on the attack. They can get themselves onto the defense and start playing their own game, but You just feel that they really do need this one. Otherwise, overtime would maybe be the best that they were hoping for. They've got the intel. They know that there's a player in bar back storage. Tuku manages to continue holding for now. They have to go in and get him, and they can't. He manages to find resets at short distance with the shotgun. He's gone for the rotation. Are they aware? Ask manages to find his man with the trade, but look at the time, Des. 1 minute 5, and they're still fighting on the top floor.
It's enough time to work with here, but it's 2 minutes to clear out a SAL player on the top who's also gone 1 for 1. Tuku's not really bothered about that at all, because now Liquid have got to work through everything else. The electro cores that are down, they've got to get the verticals set up. They've used a lot of their nades already. To be fair, 4 of them are gone here with resets falling and 2 being used by Ask. They can still afford to move these players around, but no longer even be able to see things like the IQ coming out. It's going to be a bit of a headache for them. And sure enough, this is the Valkyrie coming out here. There's black eye cameras. They are staying alive, if not already seen, because their IQ has gone at the same time. And that is also both of their phone calls gone. I'm not sure why that phone call was there from Diaz, because they haven't moved to the back of it, Tim. This could be painful.
Yeah, I mean, perfect point about the Valkyrie. They've lost the IQ who was up on the top floor the whole time. So there's more than likely going to be some intel. Good cover from Diaz at the reading door, though. Manages to get a kill, and that allows the diffuser to go down. Bodies are dropping. Nesk manages to find Nitro. We're effectively 3 versus 2 with Nazar down on the ground. There is one trying to fight back up on the top floor, but I don't think they're confident in exactly where they located. Joe manages to find Ask, but the last 2 are above. Liquid know that they need to drop. They take the kill as they do. Nesk manages to find his man. 2v1 will cut down by Diaz. And that's going to be Liquid getting themselves an essential round. Attacking reading to go 3-3.
I was really nervous for a moment as they pulled the execute that again, they'd used their utility a bit early. No phone call available to them. And I was just like, oh, this could get real messy real quick. But to Liquid's fair credit there, positions in that plant, as we saw from the top down view, excellent. Had everything locked down. Didn't matter if you're coming from brown stairs or pushing near side on pillars. They had an answer. A little bit scary for a moment when 9Z did get that couple of kills in the middle of it all, but Liquid were never letting that one get away from them. Nesk especially, he ain't mucking around this game, Tim. He really wants to ensure they're getting into playoffs. If nothing else, it's kind of a proof point for him that, of course, they're now in a pros Parlu world, that it was the right decision. They've got to show that it was worth that.
Of course they do. Of course they do. You know, we all know over the last years and years that, you know, the Liquid rosters haven't, you know, been able to deliver that big title that they've been dreaming of. And of course, you know, you've got to make changes at a point, and nobody really wanted to see that duo split up. But like you say, if you're going to make the big calls, you really got to hope that they do pay off afterwards, and failing to make the playoffs in your very next stage, you'd have to say leave some big question marks there for Liquid. But they are not at that point yet. To remind you of the stakes, or if you've maybe come in a little bit later, Liquid really could do with 3 points here. They're chasing one of the top 6 playoff spots. They are up against 4 teams realistically. They're looking at dislodging Loud, NIP, Furia or Black Dragons from that sort of 3rd to 6th position. The best that Liquid can do is to finish on 14 points. They're currently on 8 with 2 games to go, 1 today and 1 next week. If they can get themselves the full 6, they've got a chance. But on that 13th of July play day, you've got NIP against 9Z, you've got BD against Loss, and you've got Fury against ENX. So games you'd expect those other 3 to win. So Liquid need to set their sights on Loud, who they play on that last play day. So they currently have 13 points. So Liquid need 14 to jump above them. So it's so important that they get the full 3.
Feels like a very appropriate challenge given next week they face off against Loud, as you say, right? 9Z, I think you'd probably look at and say, bottom 2 team, can't make it into playoffs, barely even worth us worried about here. We should be able to get past these guys as Liquid, right? But it's proven to be a good example of, you know, even the smaller teams can take big points away from the big dogs if you're not too careful. And Loud await next is one of our top 4 teams. Yeah, this has got to be a big warm-up game for Liquid. Let's see how things shape up here on the defensive side. You would expect to see Liquid really pull ahead here and take out the win, I'd expect. As, you know, no doubt the stronger team, they've got those stronger players. Again, it's not trying to diminish 9Z, but it's just truth being realistic, more known and storied players, far more experience with them. You would expect on the defense side of Cafe, all things being equal coming into it as we are now, but Liquid come away as the winner.
Bulletproof Cam going to be taken out there by the Carly, so we've got Nanzed doing some good work to remove utility, but they haven't got themselves in the map yet. We're a minute 30 in and not one player is inside. Nobody's dropped red, nobody's working up white stairs, nobody's taking any ground at the minute. Liquid are fairly comfortable, but as I say that, Will manages to find Nest, takes him down. Ask is there for one onto Joe, but takes a lot of damage, and look who Nest was playing. He was on the dock, not going to be able to juice the Jaeger up now, so 4 versus 4. Health points wise, a slight advantage for 9Z. They are now inside of the map and can start pressuring Team Liquid.
Yeah, we saw the constant yellow pings coming onto Nesk as well. Like, he was never going to stay alive if he didn't move his position. Was holding on Pixel very understandably. For Will, it was a freebie to come in every day of the week. 4 versus 4 down to those last 60 seconds zone. This is where 9Z have got to get a bit of a wiggle on here, Tim. Still lots of utility to work through. Asker stepped into that spot where his teammate was not too long ago as well. They might find themselves running out of time here.
Yeah, I think they've not dealt with Pixel's spot effectively there. They've managed to get the kill onto Nest, but then they've not been aware that it's been retaken, and they've lost another body, with that happening. Yes, they managed to get the one out of Pixel, but they are going to find Ask being taken down as well. So 3 versus 3, 20 seconds left to go. It is possible for Liquid to hold on here. I think 9Z are just lacking that little bit of edge to get them into sight. They're kind of dashing themselves against the rocks at the minute as Team Liquid hold on. 3 versus 1, diffuser down. Will knows it's not going to happen. He'll take the few seconds to have a chat with his team. Liquid with a successful first defense. That's a good start to the second half from them.
Good time to have a swig of his drink as well. Why not? The unofficial tack timeout, as we used to call it when teams would sit themselves on roofs for 30, 40, 50 seconds when they knew a round wasn't winnable, just to have that time to have a conversation as a team. Although that's what was going on there. I think he just realised it wasn't recoverable with 10 seconds on the clock, so fair play. But no, for Liquid, again, I feel they did all the things right there. They wasted a lot of time dragging all this out around Piano. We didn't really have enough utility on the side of 9Z to deal with all the bulletproofs. You could still see one live there with about 30 seconds to go in Piano, seeing everything that was happening. There was no way 9Z stepped forward there without Liquid knowing every single step they're taking. And of course, the Magic Man himself, that I was speaking about before we even got into the game, Maya, who's having the best stage for his team so far. He's the one to net that 3K, barely moving his feet inside a cocktail, and they get the close down across bar from there. Can't go through Piano because of the intel. Can't push your way in through bar because you've got Maya at the other end of things. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. A good round for Liquid.
Liquid move on then down into the kitchen. I am fascinated to see 2 things from this Liquid defense. What do they do to hold on to VIP? Who is going to be playing there? There's no Warden in there, which is a player you would usually see in that position. Alternatively, you would see Smoke. They don't have that either. So we will see exactly what's going to happen. They also don't have a deployable shield, so they don't have many of the things that you would normally try to hold on to VIP. And I also want to see how active they get in the map. Do they bother roaming? Are they out there trying to make a nuisance, or did they give the map up to 9Z? As it stands at the minute, we've got Ask up on top floor, we've got Nesk on the mid floor, in and around Pillars, White Corridor. Those are the 2 areas that are being held. Nesk has gone downstairs again quickly, so it's all up to Ask on the roam.
And the worry there, of course, is you now got Will gone. Don't think they got anything inside a bakery open that quick. That's your only real hard breach you've gone. You still got the hard breach gadgets in the back pocket of Tuku, but he's only got one of those, and that one I imagine is destined for the hatch. Almost blessed in a way that I think, as we saw earlier on, they didn't reinforce off that white corridor, though. If there's the presence of mind there, you'd probably want to close it off and say, no, the hard breach is dead. Lock it off. They can do nothing about it, but I don't know. Definitely going to make life hard, though.
Keep it deployed.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a real blessing for Liquid, because it means that VIP is no longer as important necessarily. They can hold that position a little bit more loosely. They don't need to give the Tubarau's life for it. I understand having the Tubarau playing there, because arguably you could still deploy a Zoto canister onto the other side of the hatch when they're trying to open it. So, yeah, I get that. And right now, I think Liquid are looking good for this. 9Z are going to struggle from here.
I'm less worried, to be fair, about the denying of the hatch itself. Of course, you can do it to waste time, but if they try and drop down into a Zoto canister, it's not the same as a smoke, of course, but it's still going to basically stop you dead in your tracks as soon as you drop into freezer in the first place. Very ironically, Tim, it's like actually dropping into a real freezer when that's in place. So I think for resets, that's what it's more looking towards there. If Denial wants to actually drop their way through, C4s can head in, for example, there. Got things like the Goyo canister still be able to work through as well. It's going to make life incredibly difficult for 9Z unless they can get rid of resets inside of VIP, even though it's a different kind of defense at that side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to waste a lot of time, I think, with them. And that was the issue last time around with 9Z getting themselves into sight with enough time to do anything. And I think it's going to be the same here. 55 seconds left to go. Resets is still in VIP, hasn't been moved. And 9Z are kind of a little bit static. We're seeing, you know, we're rotating around these points of view and they're just kind of holding their positions, waiting for opportunities to come their way, but they're not going to unless you make them. Kill after kill comes in. We get a trade there with Diaz onto Naza, and that leaves us now in a 4 versus 2. 30 seconds left to go, and 9Z have just got to throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
They've tried their very best here, but again, some elements of utility are untouched on the side of Liquid. It's almost like they half clear. They get themselves into positions, but haven't dealt with all of the utility they need to make these hits work. They've tried their very best. They've made use of the sense light screens inside of sight, but they've just really struggled to get control of parts of the map that they need as Liquid, as we said before, have got those better gunners, got those stronger players, more seasoned players, and they're the ones right now coming out on top. This is what we expected in this half. You're struggling now to see maybe where 9Z can fight their way back in. It's 5-3 already.
Yeah, 9Z are looking miles better here. Liquid are looking miles better here. Get them on the defence, and they just look way more comfortable. 9Z taking the time out, not too much of a surprise. 5-3 down now. They need to get some attacking rounds quickly, and like I said, the reality is they're not getting themselves... They're not actually doing a bad job of establishing themselves inside of the map, but... they just get a bit static then. They just kind of, you know, stall out and they're not getting themselves onto site. They've never really threatened putting the diffuser down, for example. So Team Liquid know that they can just hold their positions, hold their lines and wait for the push to come. And that's exactly what they do. And yeah, Liquid definitely looking on top at the minute.
I was just watching back part of like what happened during that execute and why it felt so toothless at points. And I think a key thing was the two main events that happened really, one of them kind of not really their own fault. The second one really was their fault. They had the diffuser holder stepping their way. I think it was Nitro on the gridlock who was stepping into Bakery, immediately slammed out by Maya, who was in behind Small Bake. So you were kind of screwed there. It was a 1 versus 1. They knew that he was there, but he just won out that shot. The second thing that went really wrong, and this is where things started to crumble, I think. We saw the 1v1 inside of Small Bake itself when Naza came in through the window and had that 1v1 trade against, I believe it was Nesk. The main issue came when Joe was then pushing down Red. He did that about 2 or 3 seconds after the challenge in towards Small Bake came. So you've had a step in towards Bakery, you've lost out the 1 versus 1. Someone's then gone in towards Small Bake, a 1v1 that you've then lost. And then you've got Joe finally coming down Red as the Sen's light wall is expiring. And it's a little bit like, well, now Ask inside of Rise can challenge you on Red stairs. So this is now no longer a good push for you to work out. And I think part of the reason why he was delayed on that push down Red was because his focus is on the vertical and making sure they can get away with stepping in with a diffuser, but he's offered no value on that vertical, then been late towards the rotate. And so really, 3 members of Liquid have just stood there, planted their feet and just gone, yeah, cool, like, we'll see what you guys do. And it's felt very toothless because it wasn't all quite done in perfect sync. So a few seconds apart there is what's really cost 9Z the round. Liquid haven't really had to work very hard for that win. And this is where I fear, again, that inexperience for 9Z is starting to show. On the attacking side especially, is where teams tend to start coming undone.
Yeah, Liquid looking, as you say, pretty comfortable and quite happy to just kind of wait around and see what 9Z do and then react to it. We've got the IQ on side this time, Capitao, Gridlock, so a slightly different lineup coming through. Need to try and keep the hard breacher here, give themselves a chance at anything that they want to use that Hibana utility for. That was something that they lost out earlier. Ask just being full flashed at that point, but he doesn't mind. He's going to hold his position for now. Just let them know that he's around pillars. And again, for Liquid, I think they can do this. They can just tease doorways. They can just tease angles. And it'll waste a lot of time because 9Z will then be really cautious about approaching that.
You see things like the Wamai on side. That's what they're trying to burn through with those flashes coming out. But that is a lot of their thrown utility now done. Of course, got to be mindful of those Capital bolts being caught out is the main thing I'm keeping an eye on here. Of course, if Ness catches any of those, then fantastic. You take away some of the main utility in this round for the attackers to work behind. That was all super early on, mind you. Inside 60 seconds, a lot of that exchange has happened. And now looking like, cool, I guess we just reset into those same positions and get ready for the next push to come in, right?
Nitro was so lucky then. Liquid were playing aggressive on red stairs and really nearly caught the gridlock out. They just waited amongst the tracks thing. It's really smart play. Just, you know, let that utility deploy around you. And if they make the shot, look at that. Ask runs out, gets a great... They've been teasing that door all round. So how can 9Z fall victim to it? They need to be aware of that. Naza does manage to cut down resets. So despite losing the hard breach, they do still have man advantage, 4 versus 3.
Yeah, not too bad at all. I mean, I thought for a minute when that run out came through, okay, surely there's someone nearby to give a trade, right? And there was just absolutely nothing. I thought, no, it can't happen. The fact they've walked in and got 2 kills elsewhere in the map is beautiful. It does give them that man advantage. And this is again where we saw Liquid doing this back in the first half. Now you've got to slow things down a little bit, play behind that man advantage. You've got so much utility in the back pocket of Joe here to work behind. Make use of it. Don't make the mistake that DS made with the Deimos and not making use of that utility when it comes around to an execute. They've got all the resources in the world to get this done.
Liquid again playing it similar to how they have so far through the last couple of rounds, and that is getting themselves into position inside a site now, knowing that with 20 seconds 9Z have to play into them, and the next couple of kills will shape the round. Nazar manages to find Ask. That's huge. Another one comes in from Nazar. Big round from him as he's just walked his way through 1v3, but surely it's too much to ask. Surely as Diaz manages to find 2, can he find himself a 3rd? No. Joe manages to walk in and get the kill, but it was a little bit touch and go for Liquid.
I love how Joe's just slowly crouched, walked his way forward there, knowing that the free fire becoming at head height. Really good stuff. And again, I like it from 9Z. I was like, surely they can't be losing this with that utility in back pocket, but it wasn't the utility. It was that team push forward. Now, it looked a little bit scary for a moment when they lost a couple of kills to the player on Fireplace, but for me, it was the initial push forward that really sets it up for them. They get that freebie from inside of Reading and towards Fireplace. You have Nesk who's then cut off on side of White Stairs, and there's no safe way back towards site. They've just read out the situation very, very well and played it to perfection. Definitely could have improved that 1vx at the very end. But at that point, you're looking at small margins of being pedantic about it. It was a good round by 9Z.
Yeah, they got it done. Like I said, I was a little bit frustrated with the run out. They'd been watching it. They knew the threat was there. But other than that, they controlled it very well. And they actually used the space that it created as well. So good stuff from 9Z. Get themselves one back and at least put a little bit of pressure on Liquid. That's what they need to be doing. 2 rounds on the attack. If they can get them, will really, I think, put some nerves into this Team Liquid camp. It won't be enough, but it really sends a message. They've managed to get themselves one of them. I think it's a back-to-back that they need here. Get another successful attack. Don't let Team Liquid get themselves onto that overtime, that sort of match point guarantee, that 6th round, because whilst Liquid do need the 3 points, you feel once they get to that, it's going to let the pressure off a little bit. So keep the tension up, get this one 5-5, and 9Z might just be able to play spoiler.
Imagine if they do as well. Liquid knocked out by the team that's already been eliminated. It would be one hell of a story. You can see it becoming the potential or the possibility based on how 9Z have been playing this game. They have played well. Like first half, I know it looked a bit chaotic the first round or two with the aggression they were showing, but we could understand why they were trying to do it, trying to trip Liquid up early on, and in some cases came out on top. They had that 3-3 half, fair play. In this half, it looks a little bit more shaky. They've definitely warmed into it as time has gone by as well. With that Capital being taken offline, though, that's obviously one thing to keep respect of. You will lose that fire. You'll lose those smokes they've made good use of so far. That's got to be used, or at least the replacement consideration has got to come into it, which is why now I think you're seeing the Ying coming out from Nazar here. More utility dumping, just in a different flavor.
And just holding those external angles to start with 9Z. They did get quite a lot of joy from them previously. Will was able to get a couple of kills from that white window rappel, so we'll see whether he's able to get any success again. We've seen a lot more Kali use as well, so far tonight at least, but I think in general, just as an option to be able to take out utility like those bulletproof cameras permanently, just get the lance and get it active in there. Need to be doing something about this, Jaeger. We're going to see the pre-fire come in, but Ask will just have moved. They weren't quite quick enough on it there, 9Z.
Right. I mean, they got rid of Nest last time around, who's in this position, as well as Will, who got the freebie. I believe, I want to say, that it was from the white window where he got a kill, then got a second in towards bathroom. And so I'm looking at this again and just thinking, okay, you know that Nesk is in the same spot. He knows that you've killed him here before, so surely he's going to change something up himself. Candela comes in, at least gets one away from it as well, before Joe is shut down. Grimby's offline.
Liquid looking much better here for holding on. Nesk able to juice himself back up to full health. Nazar manages to take down Maya 4 versus 4, but they still haven't dealt with this pixel spot. 1 minute left to go. Nesk is just going to play here for as long as you will let him in. Goes the Candela, but how about that? Absolute beauty of a headshot from Nazar on the Ying. 4 versus 3 now. 9Z have got a real opportunity.
Really got to build into it though, Tim. Again, you can see the spread of the 3 Liquid players all towards this east side of this top floor. We should give a lot of room for 9Z to start moving their way through, but that storage player is going to be their main challenge. Resets is the one that they need to move away. Candela at the ready. One more smoke in back pocket. That could be their plant off the back of that. A couple of frags maybe from Nitro at the same time. Can they get away with this? Because DS is the one on the Warden who can deal with this, Tim.
Ask does manage to find Nitro. Will take down Resets. That is going to leave us now in a 2 versus 2. As you said, the Warden is going to come in critical. Ask on the double as well. And Liquid managed to get it done, even with having a man deficit for most of the round. That is a really important point in this game. Liquid get themselves a guarantee of overtime, but that's not enough. The more important thing is they get themselves 2 opportunities to grab the full 3 points that they will need.
Again, it was kind of like a right idea, but you're just being shut down by superior gunmen on the other side there. Ask, I think, has got a 4K by the end of it. Magic stuff. One thing I do want to at least remark back on, which I thought was quite interesting. We've seen that Doc in that position before. Dug in behind with Mind Magnets, in behind Jaeger ADSs. And 9Z just say, forget about trying to hit him with utility. It's all getting swallowed up by ADSs, all the rest of it. We're just going to try and shoot him. But the first player dropping in through New Hatch, who goes for the drop and manages to get a spray down and put him really low. He heals up. Then you have Narzistek across and towards Cigar, who then goes to the 1v1 and wins that headshot challenge that we saw. They basically just said, forget about playing this mini game, the like utility meta redance that we haven't seen for a few years now, and went straight in for the gunfights and came out on top. Just, I love how they kind of said, okay, then complex problem, simple solution, go shoot.
Let's see if they can shoot their way into a full 3 then. Kitchen is going to be possibly the last site we will see. Certainly going to be the next one we will see. Just looking back through, they played it in round 8. Team Liquid got the win. If you remember, they got the kill early on to Will. The entry death for 9Z was that hard breach going, and it seemed to definitely change the shape of the round. I was a little bit concerned about the VIP hold. They've gone with the same thing. It's going to be resets in there. They've managed to get the opener again. This time it's the IQ rather than the hard breach. Great reaction from Team Liquid there, knowing that that immediate pressure was going to come, that immediate rush in through main door. They're able to shut it down, and again, it might just give the breathing space for them to hold VIP despite not having a shield or any utility to play behind.
All right, well, can they make it work with what they've still got? I'd say yes. Tons to work through, but it never looks good when you're already down early on in the round. The IQ, I'd say, not the end of the world. Of course, things like the mines coming out from that Fenrir are going to be the main sticking point for them. Other little bits and bobs, not really anything else worth shouting home about, to be fair. Everything else is pretty static overall in terms of the setup that it's going to bring. This could be it, though, for 9Z. I don't know. Getting one more back, getting second one back. That's pretty big, actually. I scratched what I just said. The Uzami being gone especially is a big one. Yes, you still got to deal with those mines of the Fenrir, but of course you can't drop and change where they are. And they get a third. What shooting from Nitro? Great stuff. 2 kills on the gridlock, a 4v2. They can send this all the way to 12, Tim.
Yeah, Nesk stepped in and he's retaken that counter position, but I don't know why Liquid were kind of peeking that to begin with. It was kind of like, oh, nothing's happening. I want to have a look and see if they're there, but they don't really need to, and it just gave 9Z the opportunity, and I think it was exactly what they were waiting for. They were ready, they took it with open arms, and they now find themselves 4 versus 1 as Joe is able to pick up resets. You can throw all the smoke canisters you want, Nesk. I'll be honest, I'd be very surprised if you can come away with a win in this 1 versus 4. It's going to be one missed opportunity for Team Liquid. They will have one more chance to close it out. Nesk does manage to get 1 versus 3. Is he able to find the rest? 55 seconds is a long time to hold on.
And he's got no smokes left to stall out one of those angles. Okay, Nesk, let's calm down now. Let's calm down now a little bit. Goes into the final 1v1 with Tuku, rounding his way in through small bait, now backing off. And sure enough, the fear of God has consumed him, I'm pretty sure, knowing that you're up against demon mode. Nesk, it's into a 1v1. Nesk tries to step out. No, not taking the shot. And Tuku, well, he slays that demon, Tim. But my God, what a win that would have been for Liquid.
Nesk on the SMG, it's just a beautiful thing to see. 9Z, to be honest, that would have been unforgivable for them to lose that. 4 versus 1 with a smoke on an SMG and you know exactly where he is. I don't know why they weren't playing him for the plant. They had time. You know, they should have been looking to just get the plant down inside a site and force Nesk to make a play into them rather than... He got 3 kills without, you know, hardly moving his feet. They just kept feeding in. So nearly a big mistake there from 9Z, and Nesk was ready to take full advantage of it, but wasn't able to. So it's going to lead Team Liquid to taking that tactical timeout and have a chat and see if they can just interject enough to change the trajectory of this and get themselves the result now. They have one more opportunity to get the full 3. And just remember the impact of this. If they don't, it means they can only get a maximum of 13 points. And that is a big problem for them because Black Dragon's Furia are currently on 12. NIP and Loud are currently on 13. So even if things go their way, and I think Loud is the most likely for them to chase down, it leaves them on even standing with Loud. So then you start looking towards those tiebreakers. I'm not going to even think about what that would look like because things will change, round difference, everything else that will come into it will change. But it's not where Liquid want to be. They've got to get this done now.
I just love how even Nas is in there, just rubbing a bit of salt in the wounds during that Liquid timeout. What he said was, one Radada, air carbo playoff, which is basically 1 round and playoff is finished, right?
Yeah.
I'd
be giving it to him.
Yeah, they're saying you get this wrong, then you're screwed, basically. You might walk away with 2 points, but at that point, you're really leaving far too much for yourself to do on the last day. And so 9Z, understandably, they can see the cracks forming, they can smell blood, sharks are in the water, and Liquid are looking like that meal.
Yeah, I love it. You know, I think... Absolutely. Bit of smack talk in there. Just give it to them a little bit. No, make sure that they are fully aware of what is at stake in this round. You know, and if you come in with an entry kill now, if Naza comes in with an entry kill, it's even bigger. It's like you got 2 kills, really. He's giving it in the chat, then comes in with an entry. Liquid need to be careful that they don't suffer any slip-ups in the first minute or 2 of this round.
Interesting one to reflect on, by the way. I remember looking at Ask earlier. I believe he was 0-4 quite early on in the game, and whilst he hasn't exactly kind of kept it back to a strong standard, has definitely wormed his way back into the game here, up to 8 and 9, and now a lot of the team really been fighting their way back through. Of course, men of the moment are the 2 players that I think we'd all expect to see up there as well, DS and Nesk. I mentioned that DS has been sort of second fiddle to Maya throughout much of the stage, coming in as their second highest rated player. But for Ness to start putting on a show when it's most required, certainly not a bad time for it. But as we saw in that last round, you can give the man 3 or 4 kills, but it doesn't mean you're walking away with the round victory. And sadly, that is the only one that counts. Let's see how 9Z set themselves up, because once again, Tim, we're going towards a similar setup here, looking in towards the Sens, for example. Use case of it last time was to lock away that wall that looks in towards Red Corridor, so Ask, who was buried inside of Rice, couldn't challenge on towards Red. If you remember, it was that slight mistiming of the step in towards Bakery, small bait challenge coming out of Naza, the walk down Red Corridor. It was all a little bit broken from 9Z, and I'd hope to see that they've sort of figured out what went wrong last time and how they can course correct in this one. I'd be a bit worried if I was Liquid.
Tuku was just holding at the flank whilst Nitro got himself into position. They will have the track stingers out now, so he doesn't need to. Tuku moves across and starts looking down those verticals that Naza has been opening up. This is great from 9Z so far. We talk about 1 minute 30 in this kind of attack. You want to be opening those verticals up by the 1:30 mark at the latest. It was about 1 minute 40 that they started doing it, so great stuff ahead of time. They've got defenders moving around. They've got hatch being opened. It is being delayed by resets from VIP. He's playing those auto canisters onto the hatch to try and just deny a little bit of time away from 9Z here, but they are looking so far so good.
They are, but still quite a lot to chew through as key barriers keep on rolling out. You've got the Evil Eyes to contend with. You've got yourself facing off against Vulcan canisters. F has to work your way through. There's a lot they've got to work through. Maya's already going to find himself going down here to Nitro, and this time round, Tim, it's 9Z with the man advantage.
It is Ask, as you said, 8 kills in the defensive half. Needs to get involved here more than ever, but look at this. Nitro manages to find him. 5 versus 3 now, 24 seconds. Will the clock come to Team Liquid's rescue?
Just chill, Liquid. They're so hell-bent on fighting on that double door entry in towards Bakery. Let them in a little bit. I think you've got to let this one breathe. They've got utility they can play behind shore, but you've got things like C4s in back pocket, Evil Eyes, you name it. There we go. Ness finds one, but it's Nitro who might be the man of the moment. Steps in big. Plant's now going down. Resets with it all to do. A C4 up and over finds the man. And
Liquid will win it out 7-5, but it came down to a matter of microseconds.